welcome to Smashing Plastic, a video series about awesome board games. I've already started, man. Today we're going to be reviewing the reason why this lunatic is running around like a mad person. Neuroshima Hex, yeah! As I was trying to say, my name's Richard and this lunatic here is Sean, and today we're reviewing Neuroshima Hex.
This is all going to be part of Neuroebrary.
Or Febrishima. I thought we were doing Febrishima.
Well, whatever. Anyways, we're going to be reviewing a bunch of games from Portal Games in their Neuroshima line. We got 51st State, we got New Era, we got Neuroshima Hex, and a big stack of expansions, which is awesome. So what Neuroshima Hex is a game designed by Michal Orak, and obviously by Portal Games, and it tells the story of a post-apocalyptic wasteland where you're going to take the role of one of several armies, and you're going to be basically battling for supremacy in a 2 to 4 player game.
So the basic mechanics of Neuroshima Hex work like this. You choose one of the factions out of the box, and each faction has 35 tiles. And what you need to do is place the most important tile for your faction, which is your base, onto the map. Now each base has 20 points of life, and the way that you win the game, or lose the game, is if your base gets destroyed by losing all of its life in the first instance, or everybody runs out of tiles and you have the least amount of health left when the game ends.
To keep your base alive and to become the winner, you're going to want to use the abilities of your base, and they're all tied to the story. So the Borgo, they're these crazy mutant guys, and they act really fast. There's the Doomsday, which is this huge electronic mega cannon system, you know, like a defense grid that's become sentient and is going to shoot everybody to death. There's the Outpost, a team of, you know, scallywags running around, just, you know, always on the move, always robbing, always stealing. There's the Moloch, which is like you know, the evil sentient robot intelligence that's come to wipe out the planet. And then there's the Hedge Money, which are these just mega crime syndicates, like the mutants gone crazy bad. They're going to really ruin everything if they can.
The components are very functional in this game. The post-apocalyptic city is where you're battling it out. It's 5 hexes across, and then when you're playing on a 5 to 6 player game, you have the outer ring that you can use as well. And around the outside, you have the health count for your bases. The artwork lends to each of the factions. The humans look like humans, and the robots, they look like big killer robots. The iconography on these tiles is great as well. So, for example, this guy here, he has a small triangle, which is a melee attack, and he's going to act on initiative 2. This guy here, he has a long triangle, which means he's got a ranged attack, and he's going to act on initiative 3. And this guy here, he has two actions on each of the initiatives, and attacks twice with a melee and once with a ranged. So the other kind of tiles that you get are different actions. So there's all sorts of different actions you can get with the different factions. And you have your modules as well. Now, the modules basically are grey tiles with connectors and a +1 on it, you can see there. So this one is actually called a Scout. Now, this adds initiative. But if there was anything we had to complain about the game, which we don't really, is it doesn't look like a Scout. Same as this one here. This one's a +1. It's a medic, adds 1 health. You know exactly what it's going to do, but it doesn't look like a medic though. The first decision you have to make is which faction to choose, and there's a lot of different factions in this game to choose from, which is pretty difficult.
Yeah, there's not just the 5 in the box, there's 9 more you can get. There's 8 that are on the market right now, and there's another 1 more coming out from Portal Games in the next couple of weeks.
So they all have different abilities, as you already know. So the next thing you need to do is you get your tiles for your faction and you give them a good shuffle.
You stack them up face down next to you wherever your player is, and you're going to peel them off the top one at a time as you go. Now whoever goes first, they're going to place their tile on the board, and that's sort of the first choice, is depending what my faction is. Second choice, another choice is depending what my faction is, where am I going to place? Where's the most advantageous for me to go when I don't know where my opponent is?
Yeah, and it's dependent on what your faction's ability is, of course, and your base's ability. So Sean's gone there, which, you know, that's all very good, but my guy's good at increasing the amount of attacks he has in melee, so I'm going to go nice and close to him there.
So now I'm in a bit of a quandary here because I'm stuck next to him, but, you know, as the game goes, the first player, he's going to get 1 tile. He's going to find a good spot to put that. I got a module, helps me shoot, I'm going to put it there.
Okay, and then on the second turn, so it starts to wind up gradually, I get to choose 2 tiles. And, cool, okay, I've got a couple of guys here. I'm going to bang them right next to his base so I can get stuck into him early.
Now, the really fun bit is when you get to the 3rd turn and from then on. Then you draw 3 tiles. They're face up, nothing's hidden in this game. But the agony of choice hits you again. You have to throw one away. You have to choose out of all these. Yeah. What am I going to get rid of? Is it the action that helps me kick off the fight? Is it the melee guy who can move around on his own? Is it the shooter guy who can shoot twice?
And the best guy that you've pulled out isn't necessarily the best one for the playing at that time. You know, it's about situational awareness about what's going on the board, and it's a bit of a killer.
This agony of choice, it culminates into what I feel is the perfect blend of tactics and strategy.
So I'm not sure if you saw what just happened there, but we were supposed to be reviewing the game, and we just ended up playing it.
Yeah, that was supposed to be B-roll, and it ended up with a victory. So
Back on track.
What we wanted to talk about was the scalability of the game. So in a 2-player game, the purpose of that B-roll was to show 2 guys sit across from each other, and they duke it out. It's a bit of a chess game where you're scratching chins and so on. But in a 3-player game, when you get a third base in there, it becomes a bit of chase the leader. It becomes a bit of who's the guy who's not gonna
because the board changes so dramatically fairly dramatically by the time it gets back to your turn. So you're always kind of putting out fires. The game changes basically.
In a 4-player game, it gets even more crazy because the board fills up so quick and initiates combat so fast.
Combat. It's my turn again.
Yeah.
Combat.
It becomes really hard to really put together a strong strategic play, but the tactical play becomes really important as you really struggle.
And you're thinking there's so many different options that you've got to consider. You're looking all over the place. So pros and cons of Neuroshima Hex are...
It's the perfect game. There's nothing wrong with this game.
It makes you run around like a complete lunatic.
You should buy it right now. Look, for me, one of my favorite things about this game is the scalability and the replayability. There's so many... Every game is different because of the way the armies fit together. And once you start buying the other factions, you start realizing that everybody's perfectly balanced. There's no one army that really stands out as, oh my god, if you play this one, it's totally OP.
Yeah, for me, it's so clean. The game there's nothing in there that shouldn't be. It's not lacking anything. It doesn't need anything else to make it better. It's great. It's complicated, but it's not complex.
And that's excellent. What I really like is that it's a thinky game. That complexity, like you said, it's not complicated, but the complexity it demands your attention. That agony of choice over what am I going to get rid of? What is the best advantage, short term, long term? What's the board look like? What's the board state? I mean, it's engaging.
Settle down. Now there are a couple of cons, and they're pretty weak cons. But as with any other,
there's no cons in this game. The only con is that I don't get to play it often enough.
I'm talking. Is that as with any game, if you don't know or have an intimate knowledge of the other factions in the game and you're playing against someone, you're at a little bit of a disadvantage, which in most cases is how I am with you because you've played this game to death.
I play this game a lot, yeah. If I do have a con, I guess it can be a bit fiddly tracking the damage. I mean, making sure that you have the right guy shoot at the right time with the right person and who died when. I mean, it's probably why the electronic version of this game, which you can get on iPhone or on Android, it's probably why it stands up so well.
And the last thing for me would be, while the theme is definitely integrated into the game, it's not necessarily immersive. So at the end of the game or afterwards, you're not retelling stories about what happened. And sure, you're skied about the win, but not necessarily about the detailed story of what occurred. If you guys are as excited about this game as I am, or he is, stay tuned or have a look on our excited channel, Smashing Plastic is excited about, because we're going to go through and do little videos on all the different factions.
Yeah, we're going to
chat about them.
We're going to help just give us a light skim, 60-second skim over what the strategy is, what are the big units in the army, and why they're exciting to play.
Yeah, so keep your eye on that.
And in the middle of the month, we're going to dive into 51st State and New Era.
Yeah.
2 games that are set in the Neuroshima universe. But the thing that makes these kind of interesting is that they're the grandpappy of what might be 2014's Game of the Year, Imperial Settlers.
Yeah, so thank you very much for watching Smashing Plastic. If you want to contact us, I'm at AxeKickerKelly on Twitter.
And I'm at Smashing Plastic. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you. Peace. Bye-bye.